The San Francisco 49ers are apparently open to trading both Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. Yes, not we already know about Deebo, but apparently Brandon Aiyuk could be on the move as well, depending to bring Brandon Aiyuk on. We'll talk about where this has come from, why we're even talking about this to begin with, and really try to understand the relevancy if this is something that could go down and if it actually does indeed make sense for San Francisco 49ers to be able to potentially get out of Brandon Ayuk's contract. Audio is shaky. Let me get rid of Hulu. The combine in the background normally mixes up the audio a little bit. So hopefully that clears it up. But let's get into it all and we'll talk about it on the other side. To do smash that like button and yes in the chat. Oh boy, never a dull moment around these parts. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right. Let me know if the audio's still a little messed up. But we're gonna keep pushing on forward, and I'll be monitoring the chat to see if the audio is still cutting in and out. But let me know. So let's get into this. Let's talk about where this all kind of stemmed from and how we got here and where we're potentially going. Because obviously we are under the impression or we are aware that Deebo Samuel has requested a trade. And as a result of that, um, we know that that is likely going to be the outcome. We've actually heard reports on Deebo essentially saying that he could be traded in the next couple days. Like there's some very confident, um, you know, murmurs going on at the scouting combine right now that is going to be coming to fruition here pretty soon. And so I don't think anyone has really been anticipating the 49ers moving on from Brandon Aiyuk just 1 year after paying him, but maybe they could because hey, John Lynch was asked about this. He didn't necessarily shut it down at the combine podium, and so I think it kind of opened up the door for potential speculation and people kind of poking around to see like, well, is there any validity to this? And so how we started this morning was a kind of developing story with Diana Rossini reporting that teams have expressed interest in trading for wide receiver Deebo Samuel. Now, this is very similar to something that was reported about a week ago saying the 49ers or teams are poking around Brandon Aiyuk. And so kind of doubled down on it again. And then Mike Silver chimes in and says the 49ers would be open to trading him, but I'm skeptical that anyone would take on that contract coming off the ACL. And then if you kind of look at Mike Silver's Twitter feed, he is just going on and on and on about how the 49ers wish they could trade Brandon Aiyuk. Just like he's like, oh, the 49ers wish they had a time machine so they could go back in time and trade him instead of giving him that contract. He is very adamant that he thinks that the 49ers want to trade Brandon Aiyuk. So we have this situation kind of brewing, and then it kind of becomes a reality. Ian Rappaport effectively confirms, you can see on the bottom of the ticker, I can make it a little bit bigger on this meme that I made. 49ers open to trading wide receiver Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk. So what started out as, some smoke kind of starting out the morning has kind of we're starting to see some embers. It is smoke season, ladies and gentlemen, and I remind you where one of the biggest things that I've been able to kind of discern in my coverage of the San Francisco 49ers since 2017 and beyond that is where there's smoke, there's typically fire. And so that's why we call that literally have a name. I call our group, I call me the smoke chasers because we chase down this smoke. Is it real or is it not? And with this whole situation with BA, it is clearly coming to fruition that this actually might be real. This might be a real thing where the 49ers are actively listening to offers on Brandon Aiyuk. And so what then happens now, right? What happens now? Because the way that I've been thinking about it is, well, Brandon Aiyuk is coming off a torn ACL and MCL. There's no guarantee if he will be able to even play week one. When you look at Talanoa Hufanga's ACL injury, where I think he suffered it in week 9, he didn't come back until I believe week 4 the following year. So there's no guarantee that Brandon Aiyuk could and will be available. I'm hopeful that he is, but there's no guarantee. So I'm kind of viewing this from another team's perspective. And then on top of that, you have to bring on his contract. And for me, we know the 49ers have paid out guarantees already on his deal and have paid him a solid chunk of change. Now, obviously, he has multiple years left on the deal in question, but it just felt like it didn't make a lot of sense because if the 49ers were to trade Brandon Aiyuk, they would be trading him at his lowest possible value in the sense of you're not going to probably get a whole lot in return for Brandon Aiyuk when most likely you could have gotten a first round draft pick for him less than a year ago. So in my head, I'm like, all right, you didn't trade him, you paid him, he gets hurt. Now you trade him for a significant less value amount in compensation. And then, you paid him the contract and what he's earned up front in guarantees. And then you just move off of him. It just seems like bad process. But again, I also can't speak to like what is going on behind the scenes. Like I have no idea what it looks like. I got no idea if things have just boiled over to a point where maybe the relationship is unrepairable. I have no idea. So now what we're kind of looking at is, well, it seems clear. It seems clear that Brandon Aiyuk could potentially be had if a team is willing to take on his contract and obviously give compensation to the San Francisco 49ers for his services. But again, I don't imagine that to be very much because of all the things that we have talked about. Spotrac just put this out right here. Says the new team acquires, if they were to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, they would trade for his contract that has 4 years, $109.9 million left on his deal. In 2025, he has 24.8 guaranteed. In 2026, it's $27 million guaranteed, with what I'm assuming is an out on was that April 1st potentially, so a date that triggers that. And then I'm assuming no guarantees. I don't know, 27, 28 maybe there's no guaranteed on that back end of the deal, which we have seen in a lot of these contracts. You know, the guarantees are up front, and then when they get to those later years, they kind of tear them up and they rework the deal. Kind of similar to what we've seen with Christian McCaffrey recently, Trent Williams, and kind of what's going on with Deebo. He's under a contract, but it doesn't have any guaranteed money left. So the 49ers would, according to Spotrac, would take on a dead cap hit of 18.4 million, but it does say only 7.2 million lost. And I did see this tweet from David Lombardi, who is much more of an expert on the cap than I am. And this is what he says. He says a trade would save the 49ers 110 million over the next 4 years, but with an increased cap charge of about 7.7 million this year. So it sounds like they would take a little bit more of a hit on the upfront cap space this year at the tune of about you can see 7.2 to 7.7. That sounds like the range that we're working with right now. However, they would get out of the rest of his deal. So this is actually information that is very helpful to this conversation, because if that's what the 49ers are looking at, if they're like, hey, we can trade BA and get back that 4-year $110 million, then maybe that's where the logic is. Maybe that's where they see this as a potential of, hey, if you want to take on his contract, go for it. We'll take a 5th round draft pick for you to take on the 4-year $110 million deal and just take the deal, and we'll take our 5th round draft pick and we'll move on. That is where that starts to make a little bit more sense from a front office bean counting perspective of, okay, we can basically get out of this deal. We're definitely going to take a hit up front, but we can get out of this. We can scratch it. We can start over. We can go draft someone else at 11 at wide receiver, and then we just reset. We get rid of Deebo. We get rid of BA. We drafted Ricky Pearsall. We got Jawan Jennings, and we just reset. We go out. We potentially sign a T. Higgins. You know that. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting situation. I think the fact that it's becoming clear that the 49ers have an ability to get out of this contract by trading him, I think makes it make more sense, because just based on my baseline level knowledge, it seemed as though the 49ers would be on the hook for a lot of money. But again, if you can get out of this and the relationship is so fractured and they just don't want to deal with it anymore, that from their perspective, from a long-term contractual standpoint, starts to make a little bit more sense. I don't know if you're tracking with me. I'm just trying. Again, you guys know what I do. I process from multiple ranges of outcomes and perspectives. So right now, I am processing through why John Lynch, Parag, Jed, and Kyle might be considering actually trading him. And it sounds like the kicker is they can get out of his deal. They can get out of a 4-year, $110 million deal on the remaining part of it. And then that's where that makes sense. So Hendrick, it was funny, dude. I went on CanBR last night with Larry Kruger. Shout out Larry. He asked me this question. We talked about this. We talked about the potential of a Brandon Aiyuk trade. And I referenced the Luka trade. I said that the NFL to me is a never say never league. It's you can think that something isn't going to happen. It will never happen. It's impossible that that will happen. But I'm like, I used to kind of believe that, but I don't believe that anymore. I really do think that anything is possible. And I think you might be setting yourself up for potential disappointment or shock, not believing that. Like, not believing that, dude, anything can happen. Like, we think that, Brock Purdy, foregone conclusion, he's going to get paid. He's going to be the 49ers, you know, franchise quarterback for years to come. Anything can happen. John Lynch effectively told us that with his no guarantees quote, which to me is transparency. To me is he's being honest. Like, yeah, there might be some other hidden reasons why he had said that, but to me that is the truth. Nothing is guaranteed, and that goes in line with the never say never concept of the Luka trade. No one thought Luka would get traded for a bag of peanuts and a veteran broken down player who once was a star player and is just definitely on the decline. No one thought that would ever happen. Ever. So now we're at the stage, I think, of the offseason where it's important to remember that we are not operating like we would in season. In season, rosters locked in for the most part. We know what to expect and we know how we're moving forward. Everything's focused on the field. Not a lot is focused on the field right now. We're in the spreadsheet air. We're in the spreadsheet part of the season. We're crunching cap numbers. We're trying to build this roster. We're moving pieces around. We're trying to get this roster back to a spot that can compete for championships. So, as it stands right now, every single player on the San Francisco 49ers right now is a chess piece. And how the 49ers are most likely looking at this all is how do we move these pieces around to get the desired outcome that we want? And is BA a chess piece that could be dangled to be able to get something in return? And again, I don't see the value in trading him for a draft pick. That's where I don't see the value. I don't really see the value in trading him for another wide receiver or another player because I don't know what you're going to get. To me, the value comes from what David Lombardi said. The value for the 49ers comes from the trade would save the 49ers $110 million over the next 4 years. That's the value to the 49ers, especially if they're going to be paying Brock Purdy, and they extend George Kittle, and things of that nature. So it's an interesting thought process. It's very, very interesting. It's something that I was definitely kind of pushing back on, but now that I am seeing how the information is being presented and trying to understand it better, this has become a little bit more fascinating to me. Whereas this something to me felt like a non-starter, whereas now maybe, just maybe, I can understand the logic now better behind this situation. So now, with all of that being said, that still doesn't mean Brandon Aiyuk is going to get traded. However, I could see what they're angling towards. potentially. So let's play this. Let's play this game. Let's poll the chat first. If you haven't liked this video, you better like this video. Secondly, let's, after we kind of presented the information as such, what, let me phrase it like this. So get ready to type your answers in the chat. Based on the 49ers being able to get out of a four-year, $110 million remaining on Brandon Aiyuk's contract, would you trade Brandon Aiyuk? And I'm talking about you're not getting anything more than a 4th-round pick, but you're getting 4 years, $110 million back on that deal. Are you trading Brandon Aiyuk? Are you like what is being reported? Are you listening to answer? Are you listening to calls? Are you listening to who might actually be willing to throw you a 5th-round pick for BA in order to get out of that contract? So far, the chat, I see a yes. I see a yes. I see a no. Batman says yes, he won't be the same after the injury. For the contract, yes. 100%. No. Yes, getting all that money back, we can get a better wide receiver. Yes. 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 Trade him. Damn. Nicholas says 100%, and I'll throw in my baby mama. You're crazy, man. That is a insanely diabolical comment. Oh my gosh. If we can get decent value, trade him. No. We're going for 2 yeses from greatness. No. It doesn't hurt listening. I'll take a 6th if it means getting that contract off the books. No way in 2027 I'll be open to it. They have to think about being on the hot seat without Aiyuk if he doesn't come back until November. I mean, honestly, Justin, that's not a terrible point that you're making. I think we just talked about this yesterday. I do believe that if the 49ers go 6-11 again, it's going to get real interesting for this management group. And if you are thinking that BA might not be back right away, well, he's definitely not helping you not get on that train, Man, this is crazy. Dude, this is why the NFL is insane. So like I bet if I asked this question yesterday based on kind of where we were at, I would assume a lot of the answer would have been no from everyone. But I think based on how we're seeing how this contract is breaking out and what it would mean, it is. The tides have turned. Man, I can't even get through all the comments. So after you're done commenting, make sure you smash that like button. But choo, crazy. Hey, listen. I'm beyond the point of like being too emotionally attached anymore. I'm a 49er fan. I love these players, but I've gone through too many off seasons where this player almost got traded, that player almost got traded, this almost happened, that almost happened, that you have to kind of take a step back and you have to understand like this is a cutthroat business and that is how it's going to be operating in the offseason. They're looking at it through a different, completely different set of glasses than we are. They're looking at this through the lens of how do we win next year? Is Brandon Aiyuk a part of us winning next year? And if they come to the conclusion that he is not, then maybe that's where the logic stems from. So, and obviously on top of that, if the relationship is fractured with that whole melting pot, I think that does change the conversation. I do. Um, so really, really interesting dynamic here. Um, really just fascinating development that I honestly wasn't anticipating. I didn't think we were going to have to be worrying about Brandon Ayuk trade conversations this offseason. But here we are. Here we are. And I hate to say that, I kind of I see the logic. I see the logic with it kind of explained to me. Sometimes that needs to be happened. Sometimes things need to be explained to me like I'm a fifth grader, and that's okay. But once that happens, I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. Okay, I see the logic here. I see where this could potentially be going. So, just like I said earlier, this is a never say never league. And just when you think, oh, everything's status quo, we're going to be good, nothing to worry about, boom, something crazy is going to happen. So, I had told you guys early on in the process that just be prepared for some crazy stuff to pop up with the Brock Purdy contract. I think everyone's just under the impression, oh, we're going to pay Brock and everything's going to be fine. And although I do believe that they love Brock and all, you can just see how quickly things change and just how money and the contracts become the focus of these off-season decisions, not the way that we think about it. We're like, I would say majority of fans are probably 99% on the field thought process thinking only thinking about what's going on the field. How do we draft someone to help us on the field? How do we, build this roster, get free agents to help us on the field? But there's a lot of time before they step on that field. And until they do, we're not talking about, like, obviously that's in the front of our mind, but we're talking about who's signing, who do we need to, shave to help us down the line here? Where can we make a move here? And then it's chess piece time. Like this is a different time of the year than I think, and I think that's why a lot of fans like really don't like the off season. It's because you get all the rumors, you get all the smoke, you get some crazy things that go down, and you're like, what is happening? This doesn't make sense. It's not how I compute sports. It's not how I compute football. But if you're into free agency, if you're into the draft, if you're into roster construction, if you're into trades, like you understand that this is par for the course. I can't say I'm crazy surprised. I'm a little surprised, but like I said, once the information has kind of been disseminated to me, I'm less surprised. Um, so I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I'm not banging the table saying anything about that. Um, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, we get all the drama, Amanda. We get all of the drama. The 49ers, man, um, honestly, they really make my job easier because there's always something going on. There's always something to talk about. There's always some rumor, some angle, some this might be going on. Like there's always something. Um which is pretty much why I made this meme. Oh shit. Here we go again. Because that's where we're at. We're at that stage where it's like, here we go again. Rob says Aiyuk to the Jets for Adams. I think in theory, Rob, I like where your head's at, but when you look at Devontae Adams' contract, it's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. I don't think anyone is going to be trading for Devontae Adams. I believe Devontae Adams carries a cap hit of 44 million, in the range of 44 million this year and 44 million next year. Like his cap hit that comes along with him is astronomical. I don't see any team trading for him. I see him being cut, and then you try to sign him in free agency. So if that's the path that I believe makes the most sense for Devontae Adams. Maybe there's an he had mentioned, or at least reports had came out that he had discussed wanting to come play on the West Coast. 49ers were named as a potential suitor for Devontae Adams. That could be a possibility, but I don't see it coming via trade. I would have to see it come via free agency after he gets cut, released, then potentially bring him through. But all right, well, let's play this game. Let's play this game, shall we? Um, if BA is really indeed on the outs here in the coming weeks, and let's say something gets done, and let's say with Deebo something gets done, all of a sudden you're looking at a wide receiver core currently of Ricky Pearsall heading into year 2. You're looking at Jawan Jennings and Jacob Cowing. 3 wide receivers that were on the active roster last year. You have Isaiah Hodgins, Tariq Owens, Russell Gage, and Trent Taylor, who are currently they were signed to future deals. So those are going to be your likely practice squad guys. And to pair with Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. So then that means that most likely the San Francisco 49ers would be in the wide receiver business. And that changes the dynamic of what we maybe have assumed the 49ers would do at pick 11. So what's interesting about this is if this is going to be the outcome, we already know Deebo is likely gone. And if that makes Aiyuk likely gone as well, and again, Aiyuk is, I think, in a different situation, that means the 49ers could potentially be drafting a wide receiver at 11. So there's only a couple options, I believe, for the 49ers at 11. I think the one that makes most sense for me personally, and I know we'll have some others in the chat who think another prospect, and we'll get to them as well. But for me personally, if you can get Tet McMillan at pick 11 and he somehow falls out of the top 10, to me, that's a home run. Like I told you guys, like when I was doing Jacob Cowing film, um, my jaw hit the floor watching McMillan. Um, Honestly, just one of the more like jump off the screen wide receivers I have seen in a long time. And that's probably since CeeDee Lamb, um, since Justin Jefferson, those guys back in the 2020 draft. Um, McMillan to me is a freak. Um, and so then to me, if he's available, he becomes an option. I know Burden also potentially could be an option. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Burden's draft stock right now. We talked about this at length yesterday. Burden has went from being like a top 15 lock to now all of a sudden, some of these guys have him outside of the first round. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Burden. I'm actually I have it on my to-do list to really do a deep dive on Burden. So I haven't done one. So I don't have a strong opinion on him other than first impression. But I need to do a deep dive. And so that will help me. I don't know, maybe something will come to light as to why maybe his stock seems to be sliding, at least in the media's eyes. But Burden is a potential option. But outside of that, I don't see a ton of top end wide receiver talent. I think to me right now, McMillan is like the only like lock, like blue chip wide receiver that I have watched. I have to do work on Burden to be able to make that definitive call. But again, even if we throw Burden into that category with McMillan, that's so far. There's not a whole lot outside of that. There are some potential high upside wide receivers in this draft, but more second, third round guys, in my opinion. So, um, so that will be interesting to see. Yes, and I'm doing it just for you, Justin. I need to do my homework on him. That's why I've been kind of hesitant to give much of an opinion on him because I still got to do the work. But once I do, I think I'll have a better idea of what that could look like. Rob says trenches over wide receiver, go the Philly route. I mean, so again, this is kind of a similar conversation that we've talked about at wide receiver. To me, there might be two guys right now that I think are worthy of potentially being drafted at 11. Obviously, Will Campbell. You guys know that I've been high on him right out the gate. And Armand Membo from Mizzou. Those two right now look like they are the only guys that are worthy of being selected on the offensive line at 11. Outside of that, everyone either looks like a guard or something else. And as I've said many times, I'm not in the business of drafting an interior offensive lineman in the first round unless they are generational, especially in the top 15. So if you're not getting me a generational interior offensive lineman in the top 15, then I'm going to push. I'm going to push guard and center to second through fifth. Tackle, you take a tackle in the first round if you can. So to me, the only two guys that I think are worthy are Membo and Campbell. That's it. And there's no guarantee that either one of those guys will be available. So again, I'm not reaching for offensive line. That is the worst mistake you could possibly make, in my opinion. So for me, I would that's why it's like, I don't know. I don't know if trenches are going to be there. I like it in theory. In theory, yeah, I agree. But in theory, this isn't a strong offensive line class at the top. It's not it's not like last year. Last year was the year to be able to go and do that. This is not the year to draft an offensive lineman early unless I believe you get in those two guys that I talked about. So again, it makes it a challenge, right? Because also at wide receiver, it's not crazy deep there either. So it still might make the most sense to go defensive line. Um, but I do believe it changes the free agent element of this. So I wrote down some names. I haven't really done a free agent video yet, but I've started putting together a list. I mean, they're not high end guys, but yeah, they're not high end. They'd be kind of placeholders. Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore. Rondale's coming off an injury. DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Keenan Allen. Those are your older, kind of veteran type wide receivers. Demarcus Robinson to me would be an upgrade over what's his name? Number 84. Conley but Conley's not even here. But he reminds me of a younger Chris Conley. Like Zay Jones, role player, Diami Brown, potential role player, Tutu Atwell, role player, Ben Skoranek, special teamer, Kadarrell Hodge, fringe guy. So there's not a whole lot of options at wide receiver. Obviously, if you can get like a T. Higgins, that would be phenomenal. I love T. Higgins. T. Higgins is one of my favorite guys in the league. But that's a $30 million a year wide receiver. So are they going to pay that? I don't know. If Deebo and BA are gone, wide receiver becomes number one need, doesn't it? I still disagree because to me, number one is defensive line. You need two starting defensive tackles. I'm not comfortable with the 49ers going into next year with Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott as our starting defensive tackles, or Malik Collins and Evan Anderson as our starting defensive tackles. So to me, DT is still remained. It's not only the number one need, but it's the number two need. Like it is, they need to get defensive tackle and edge, in my opinion. So to me, defensive line is still number one. The fact that you have Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, you added Isaiah Hodgins, who I think is a super underrated wide receiver, and you can maybe go out and get a Darius Slayton. You can kind of fill that wide receiver room with kind of, I would say, mid-level talent. I would say relatively easily. It's trying to get a tier one guy that would be very challenging. So, but if they get rid of BA and Deebo, well, or they're most likely getting rid of Deebo and BA for sure, wide receiver does jump up to being a big need. But they also need a starting safety on the opposite side. Malik Mustafa, if they aren't fully sold on Jair Brown, they still need a starting cornerback 2-3 to be able to rotate in with Lenore and Green. They still need a starting linebacker to pair with Fred Warner. They still need a center or a guard, depending on where Ben Barch will play. They need a tight end 2 and a tight end 3, and they need running back depth. There's a hole pretty much at every level, and they need to pay Brock Purdy. So there's a hole pretty much everywhere. And but if I'm ranking needs, I still have defensive line at the very, very top of that. So what's good, OG? Over the receiver drama, man, that's all we get. That's all we get around here is receiver drama. But with it being the offseason, that means things could be changing. Times could be changing, and we could see a big roster shakeup coming. And if the 49ers move on from BA and Deebo, then oh boy, things are going to get spicy. So, hey man, we'll see how it all plays out. But something tells me that the nice and easy, happy-go-lucky offseason that many had been hoping for, I think it's going to be a little bit more ratcheted up than maybe some of you have been anticipating. So get ready. Things could get spicy out here, and it already feels like it's heating up that way. And again, just because we're hearing some of these things doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion that BA is going to get traded. But I think the fact that it's coming out more and more into the forefront definitely makes it feel as if it is a possibility. So where I was like, 99% chance, there's no way, like there's a 1% chance BA is going to get traded. Well, I don't know now. And that's not because of not solely because of the reports that we're hearing and the rumors that we're hearing. It's more so seeing the breakdown of the contract and seeing that the 49ers can actually get out of this contract. That to me, paired with the potential that their relationship has deteriorated. If it's a bad relationship and there's an out in the contract, then that becomes a much different conversation. The hope is that the relationship isn't deteriorated and that, BA's on schedule and to return and maybe ahead of schedule, and things work out and he contributes next year. But woo! What's today? March 1st. When does free agency start? In 12 days? So I think we're 12 days away from, I don't know if that's the start of legal tampering or the actual start of free agency in the new league year, but we're right around the corner. Fireworks are going to be flying here soon. If you're expecting a slow offseason, we're going to get a lot of movement. It sounds like legal tampering is the 10th through 12th. Beautiful. Nothing like some good old legal tampering. Going to be a big time. Oh man. So I think that's why things are heating up, right? That's why the thing with Deebo is progressing. They want to get Deebo off the books. They want to clear that contract. They want to get Deebo out, in the sense of get him off the books. They don't want to pay him The guaranteed money that's going to be triggered, I think, on the 22nd is what it is. And then compounding that same logic, if they could get rid of that 4-year, $110 million deal that's remaining on BAs, if they get out of the Deebo business and out of the BA business, that's a very fascinating position to be in heading into free agency. So, boy, oh boy, get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all better be locked into this channel. I'm telling you, I'm back from vacation now. So, we're going to be on top of it all. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you got post notifications on, because things are going to start heating up. It's time. It's business time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time, and business time means one thing. Ho 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 ho! Smoke season, ladies and gentlemen. Get prepared, get ready. Come one, come all. One of the greatest times of the off season, the smokiest of times. Smoke season is in full effect, and you better believe we are chasing down all the smoke. Let's go. Hey, I'm here for it all, man. I'm along for the ride. I don't make decisions. I just talk about them. So I'm ready to go. Oh, tell you about Hawaii? Dude, Hawaii was phenomenal. Hawaii was fantastic. Almost 2 weeks in Hawaii. Not Alive was done, and boy, let me tell you, it was needed. I'm refreshed. I'm recharged. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to work. I'm ready for things to pop off. Let's go. I'm ready. I was chilling by the beach, checking out volcanoes, going to luau's, all that stuff. I'm ready. I'm ready for stuff to pop off now. Went to the Big Island, stayed in Kona. Whoo, beautiful place. Beautiful place. All that good stuff. So I would say next week. Next week is the time. Mock draft 2.0. Dude, mock draft 2.0 went crazy. My mock trade got aggregated, and that thing did numbers. So mock draft 3.0 won't have a trade. And mock draft 3.0 could look crazy different now that we have this whole situation with potentially one or both of the 49ers wide receivers getting traded. So a lot of things will be a changing, and mock drafts will continue to evolve as well. What would I need? What would I need to trade BA, a first or a second? The problem is I don't think anyone is offering a first or a second for Brandon Aiyuk with the injury, with the whole situation. So I honestly don't even think that would, I think teams would hang up. So I don't know. For me to trade Brandon Aiyuk, I don't know what I would need. I don't know what I need. All I know what I need is a 6th ring. That's what I need. I need the San Francisco 49ers to win it all. That's what I need. At this current state of everything that we have been through whether as a fan, whether as someone who covers the team. We just need a ring. We just need to frickin' win it all. And however that comes, honestly, I don't care. That's how you know. That's how you know I've been covering this team for a really, really long time, is that I don't really care anymore. I don't get emotionally involved and like I used to. Before, I would probably be very emotionally swayed by this situation. That's how I know I'm a real diehard 49er fan who covers everything, is that I'm not emotionally swayed anymore because I'm dead inside. And being a 49er fan as of late, I think we'll do that to you. But it's a team that I can't quit. And man, when I'm going to speak it into existence, when they win that Super Bowl, oh boy, it's going to be a great time. It is going to be the biggest weight lifted off my shoulders, and I will celebrate, and I will shed tears of joy and happiness. But I can't wait. I do. I want it now. I don't want it tomorrow. I want it now. So again, I'm subscribed to, hey, do what you got to do. And if it brings us closer to a championship, then it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, I have my personal preferences, but at the end of the day, you know, just because I have personal preferences doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition. So, and I've learned that a long time ago. So at this current state, I'm just hoping for the best, hoping that it works out with BA, without BA, with Deebo, without Deebo, with whoever. I just hope that it works out for the best, and it puts the 49ers in position to win the Super Bowl. So I appreciate everyone tapping in on Saturday. Like, it is very rare for me to go live on a Saturday. Typically, I take Saturdays off, but obviously with being on vacation, not too big of a deal. So I appreciate everyone tapping on. And like I said, I do think that this is going to be an eventful off season. So make sure you got post notifications on. Make sure tap in whenever we go live and we watch a video. Smash that like button. Did we get even close to 200 likes on this video? I don't feel like we did, but maybe I'm wrong. Did we even break 100 likes? Ooh, I like that. Niners are Japan's team. Let's go. Did we get close? Someone tell me. I don't want to look it up. 102. All right. Far off from the 200 goal, but at least we broke 100. Appreciate you guys. Smash that like button if you haven't already. All that good stuff. Hey, halfway there. Not bad. Like I said, anything pops off, we're posting a video, we're going live. Appreciate all you guys. Grab your cookies on the way out. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.